All right, you said coming in here, Noah, you watched an absurd amount of college basketball last night, so I assume you watched Texas lose to Kentucky.
I did.
On their home floor. Can we hear from Sean Miller after the game? This was a really fun game. It was a good game, up and down.
It was.
Texas was within 2 points at 80-78 with about a minute to play and had their chances. Jordan Pope rimmed out a three-pointer. They would have tied the game in the closing stages, or at least given Texas a chance. And so Texas went 2 for 18 from three. They did a better job defending the threes. Kentucky only went 5 for 18. And Kentucky is a good shooting team. Texas has been in trouble with the perimeter defense. But once again, Sean Miller's issue with his team, fouling. He'll relay out the numbers, but Sean Miller not happy with you can play defense and play physical defense without fouling. His team's not very good at it.
What our team, and this is a Texas problem, has is we have a virus called fouling. And it has plagued us from the opening tip of the first game until tonight. It's not the officials. It's not Kentucky. We will foul.
Sorry, I had to bleep that.
We'll foul a three-point shooter. We'll foul at the end of the clock. We'll leave our feet on drives. We'll reach. You describe the foul, and the team that I'm coaching will commit it. Tonight, we lost. Kentucky was 30 for 35 from the line. It's hard to win an SEC road game when the home team is 30 for 35 from the line. I'm not messing around like the officiating. Officiating was fine. It was called the right way. We fouled. 2 of the last fouls in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, one at half court, and one like under 5 seconds where you just stay down, and if he makes the shot, he makes it. We have to be able to play defense without fouling. Our team isn't really put together to turn you over. So if you're not turning them over and you're fouling, it really makes it difficult on the defensive end. I mean, if we did a better job of playing, not just in this game, but in some others, of not fouling, we would have a couple more wins under our belt because we're not that far off. So my charge is to continue to work, to develop it, to teach it, to stay on it, and to demand it, and to be more disciplined as we move forward, because I think if we could eliminate some of our fouls, we could break through, for example, in a big game like tonight, because we did some other things really well.
All right, there's Sean Miller, obviously frustrated. And I asked Jack Farrell this last hour when we heard that, are we on board with Sean Miller? We're learning him.
Yes.
He's going to air his grievance as we do at the end of the 8 o'clock hour every morning. Do you good with it?
Yeah, I am good with it. I mean, he's completely right on. I mean, watching this second half of the game, right, there was foul trouble already for Kentucky, and I thought, wow, okay, Texas is going to get in the bonus early. They're going to get to the free throw line. That's a good way to win games in college basketball. Make your shots there, give you the free points that you get off these fouls. And what does Texas do? They actually end up getting the Kentucky to the bonus faster because they just continuously foul, and he's spot on. So it's little mistakes. You know, I think Sean Miller long-term is going to be a great coach and going to build a program here that is disciplined, kind of like what we're seeing. You know, Kirk Cignetti's I just think of discipline right away. He's the example on the top of the mind. I don't know if he'll ever be that good of a coach. I don't know if there's that many coaches like Kirk Cignetti, but I think the discipline and the culture he's establishing, yes, he's airing his players out, but I think this is a team that needs that. Just from how sloppy some of these games are, they have talented players. We see that, and I think there's going to more talent's going to come in for Austin, as you know, in Austin here as time goes on. But I think it's okay. I like the fact that he isn't just giving stock answers up there and just saying, "No, it's all good. No, don't worry."
I would agree
like
with that
it
too. There's a little Rick Barnes did it with a Southern drawl, but Rick Barnes would have some pretty biting, cutting news conferences.
He's setting the tone, man, and I like it.
And again, we know this with year one coaches. You get 1 year to set the culture and the demand, and people will say, "Well, he needs to be coaching better." It's pretty clear they've been coaching this. Remember, the fouling issue is what he was talking about when he talked about crossing the street and getting hit by the bus. I mean, we're working on this, and the fouls he's speaking of. Tremont Mark's a 5th or 6th year player, and this guy reached in out by the top of the key, just a ridiculous foul in a game situation. He talked about the one out half court, Matas and Vocatitis. I mean, Texas is about to get a stop. And you got a guard penetrating, and all you got to do is put your hands up. You're 7 foot tall. He's a guard. You're going to affect the shot if he, don't foul him though. It's a low percentage shot at this point with the shot clock running down, and he got off his feet, and that allowed the the guard to get under him and get the easy foul call.
There's a technical too where they got 2 possessions because of that. Because he hit him in the face, going for the ball. He didn't even come close to the ball, and that was a tech. You can't do that.
And it's a parallel to Steve Sarkisian and the penalties. I mean, it's
right.
When Sark calls them self-inflicted wounds, but at some point they have to be cleaned up, and Sark's in year 5. And that's why with Sean Miller, you give grace that this is year 1 with a roster that's been kind of thrown together, and he's setting the culture for year 1. With Sark, it's like, hey, man, this is year 5, and your team is actually getting less and less disciplined as it goes. That's an inflection or a reflection of leadership that you have to get fixed. And Sean Miller is being pretty blunt about it. I wanted to play this. We played it at the end of the show yesterday, but I thought it was a really interesting quote from a very smart guy, and that's Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, former great quarterback, Stanford, played for Jim Harbaugh, then played for the Colts, and now he's the general manager of the Stanford Cardinal, and he's trying to build a roster there, right? Well, listen to this. This is him talking about, okay, how do you become a disciplined team, and how he learned how teams become more disciplined, and how to handle late game situations. And what do coaches say all the time? Be at your best in the most critical moments. Be at your highest level, and that's what we saw from Indiana throughout the year. When it mattered most, Fernando Mendoza was his best. When they needed in big plays. Now, uncharacteristically on Monday night, they made some mistakes late that almost cost them. But for the majority of the year, one of the reasons they went 16-0 is when it was critical, they were great. But listen to Andrew Luck, and this speaks to Sark and what they have to do for their roster this year. This speaks to any coach. I just think it's a leadership conversation that is important. And there's Andrew Luck explaining when he learned, the aha moment. Here's how you build discipline, and now he's trying to instill that at Stanford.
Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw at Stanford had amazing coaches in the NFL, and we practice those high-pressure situations all the time. I think there's a romantic notion I held growing up, that you rise to the occasion, you rise to these great moments, and I certainly think that's true. You watch great athletes, great folks doing things like they're going to show up. But I think something that is as much true as you settle to the level of your training. You settle to the level what your habits are, and that I really internalized that at Stanford with how we practiced. I mean, practice had a sense of urgency, had pressure. There were stakes at practice. I mean, there was competitive. If we wanted to go out and compete on game day, it wasn't a flip a switch and go. We learned to compete on the practice field. We learned to compete against each other. We learned the at least as a quarterback, I learned the physiological response. Can I control my breathing to call a play clearly, succinctly, with some level of positive affect to my teammates? So we have a collective belief we can go and get this 4th down or score a touchdown here. So I think practicing that and having some awareness of that this is what we're practicing for helped my growth, helped my career.
All right, so there's Andrew Luck, and I think that's it's really well said. You settle to the level of your training, which is why for people like me and you and fans who don't get to go to Texas football practices, we can say, you know what? Sounds like you're kind of sloppy at practice and not – because if you're getting sloppier as a program and less disciplined, you probably have practice habits and practice standards that aren't high enough.
Right.
And I can also take that same statement as I think it's a fact that you do settle to the level of your training and then you perform to the level of how you've been trained in the most important moments. You can say that it's got Kurt Signetti. One of the reasons he's won at every level, whether it's Iona or James Madison, and now at the highest level of college football, I bet his teams have really, really good practice habits. I bet they have really competitive, intense practices with stakes and accountability if you don't perform it, and then teaching how to handle those moments. I would bet that. I'm assuming because I watch his team. I don't get to go to his practices, but I watch the team, and that's how they play.
Yes.
So I would guess. And so, again, it's not like Steve Sarkisian's teams have been completely a mess. I've watched some teams. I could go back to Charlie Strong's years at Texas. I mean, there were those teams. I watched a game Charlie Strong coached where his team had 3 extra points blocked by the same guy.
Right.
Oh. That's bad. I'm assuming your special teams practices aren't very good.
Right.
But to my point of this with Sean Miller, you hear him exasperated. They're trying to coach it. You're trying to set culture. I know they practice hard. For Sark, where the expectations are going to be a national championship next year, I think there's a lesson there that how do you want to root out penalties? Well, practice has probably got to be tougher than they've been,
right,
and demanding than they've been, because I think Who did he mention? He cited when he learned it from Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw. Jim Harbaugh is still winning. No, he'll bend the rules, and we found that out at Michigan. But either way, I'm sure he has competitive practices. That's kind of old school. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it a lot, and I think that that's something you can fix as a coach. I know with Cignetti specifically, and I get this is part of the reason why they had such success. But his practices are not the most long, drawn out.
Yes.
Right?
He's talked about that. How
He's talked about how it is serious with that 2-hour span of we're going to really work on the small things here, try to make it as perfect as possible, perfection. And that's key, right? Taking those moments seriously instead of just stretching it out and okay, here we go again, and just kind of this mundane kind of process. No. Like this is practice is his first game, his first interview. He said this feels like he got asked by interview, how do you feel about coming into Hoosier Stadium? First game, he goes, it just feels like a glorified practice. And he said that, and that's how you have to have that mentality. How you practice is how you're going to play.
100%, especially in the critical moments.
Right.
And great stuff there from Andrew Luck. I like that a lot. We can build on that for sure. And what is it they say? I learned this from my guy Bucky Godbolt back in the day. The coach, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Bingo.
And and if you're going to try to win a national championship in football, even though you have a elite roster, you've got to be disciplined, and self-inflicted wounds have to be minimized, as Indiana just showed us. All right, and what lost it for Miami? Critical mistakes, block punt, missed a field goal, which happens, but the penalties made their mistakes, and Indiana took advantage of them.